Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Thanks for joining me today for Stay Free with Russell Brand. It's Friday, and what a special day it is because we're joined by Rudy Giuliani, and we're going to be talking about the ramifications of Trump's recent election and what it's like to move through the various offices of public life, sometimes opposing mafia bosses as an AG, being America's sort of, mayor during the 9/11 crisis and catastrophe. And now I feel like he's in a sense America's granddad. He's a sweet and adorable gentleman who has incredible insights when it comes to the peculiar permutations in American political life and the way that power migrates between parties. I confronted him outright about the Republican Party during the Cheney and Bush years was certainly the party of war, the party of the new American century. How can we make claims objectively about the Democratic Party being corrupt without addressing the corruption of the Republican Party? And will Trump be able to govern the way that he campaigned? What is the significance of independent media versus legacy media? And I talked to him about his book, The Biden Crime Family. There's a link in the description if you want to get that book for yourself. If you're watching us on YouTube, we'll only be there for the first 15 minutes precisely because YouTube are a member of the Trusted News Initiative. YouTube are a platform that move in alliance with the systems of censorship that control free speech and ensure that you're only given information that makes you dumb, not the information that's accessible to you on Rumble, where sometimes it is a bit crazy, but at least you can speak freely. And if you're not an Awaken Wonder yet, become an Awaken Wonder. Join me for my conversations with brilliant Christian thinkers and leaders, not so we can make you into some muted little Christian, but so that we can make you a radical warrior, such as we saw in the book of Acts. May the tongues of fire be upon you. May the heavenly discourse unfold before us all here. May we challenge power in his name. If you're watching us on YouTube, we'll be there for a few more minutes, then we'll be exclusively streaming on Rumble. Okay, without further dilly-dallying or hullabaloo, let's introduce Rudy Giuliani. Rudy, thank you for joining us. I'm not even going to ask what's under that blanket in the background. All I want to know is the truth of the way you think and the way you feel. Thanks for joining us today, sir.
Well, it's nice to be with you, Russell.
Last time we met was at the RNC. I was pretty excited to encounter you. And it's when you meet someone that you've known about for a long time, sometimes you get a carousel of flashes of all the times that person has permeated your consciousness because you've been a global figure since 9/11. At that point, as we discussed when we met previously, a much vaulted hero. Subsequent to that, under the era that I guess we're going to call the advance of globalism, under the auspices of liberalisms, there's been times where you've been attacked and derided. And I know what that's like because I've had it happen to me as well. Do you believe, as many people do, that this current and recent victory of Trump's is the advent of a new era? What concerns do you have that the kind of insidious and institutional powers that most people call globalism or the deep state or the blob or the swamp, so many euphemisms for it, do you think they'll be able to maintain power, or are you optimistic and excited about this victory?
Well, I am optimistic and excited. I don't fool myself into thinking it's just self-executing. I see it as a very decisive first step, and therefore we have to build on it by essentially having the results that we had the first time we had control of the government. And it's going to be harder now because when Trump took over in 2017, the country and the world was not in such catastrophic condition as it is today. I mean, just look at the condition of war and peace, right? So he had to settle the ISIS war that the incompetent Obama created, and he did quickly. And then he created peace, historic peace agreements in the Middle East, ended ISIS like that, settled down Syria in a minute, contained Putin. The only president Putin hasn't invaded under is Trump. He invaded under Bush. He invaded under Obama. He invaded under Biden. Same thing with Xi Jinping. He was not nearly as aggressive as he is now. And he had the guy in North Korea in his back pocket. I used to listen to some of those conversations. The guy used to think of him as his big uncle. And so we're in worse shape now. Our economy they've done incalculable damage to our economy. They've done incalculable damage to our society. They've divided us more, the way latter-day communists divide, the way Gramsci wrote, which is based on race rather than on poverty. But we have exactly the right man to cure it. So it really depends on, do we show them in a very quick period of time that they were being led down the wrong road, and that our greatness lies in the core institutions that we have? Do we restore free speech? Do we restore a proper balance between religion and government? Do we restore, oh my goodness, the criminal system? I mean, it was very, very completely contradictory that they were attacking him for wanting to take democracy away and wanting to prosecute his enemies when he never did that. He had the opportunity to do it. I know that better than anyone else. I recommended prosecuting Hillary Clinton in 2017, and he had the wisdom to say, we don't do that in America. We don't prosecute we're not a banana republic. And what do they do? They've prosecuted well over 100 of his people, from little cases to the people that they tortured on for January 6th, right? People that they've got him in conditions worse than some of the prison camps. And plus, they prosecuted Bannon, put him in jail. They put Navarro in on leg irons. They have virtually bankrupted me. If you wanted to check from me now, I no longer have a checking account, because at the instance and direction of Hunter Biden's former law partner and a lawyer for the crooked Ukrainian company Burisma, which I uncovered, they have tied up all of my assets with a completely phony case of $145 million to these women, where there is a tape recording of their doing what I said they did, which has been doctored. I still have it. I can still show it, but neither in my court proceeding with the Bar Association or in Washington have they let me put in a defense. So these women are getting $145 million, and you can see the younger one just putting the ballots in, one after another, one after another, one after another. I'm entitled to draw a conclusion based on that. I did, and even if I was wrong, it's not 145 million. Meanwhile, the federal judge here, who is a lifetime Democrat activist and a judge with serious conflicts of interest, has tied up everything I own before the judgment's affirmed on appeal, because they want to take my property away before I maybe win on appeal. And then when I try to get it back, first of all, it'll be worth a lot less. And then the things that really mean something to me, like the things that I got during and after 9/11 and during the Afghanistan war, and things that I have from the time that I prosecuted the mafia and former Nazis, and my grandfather's watch, they won't let me even keep those, even to keep it until the appeal is decided. Why? Because it's not a case, it's a cause. And people involved in it are part of an organization that goes around torturing Trump lawyers. And they're still doing it even after the victory. And it's outrageous. And it's not just me. I'm not, there are some not as bad. There are some worse. And this is the thing we have to straighten out in America. America realizes that we have seriously destroyed our system of justice under these crooked Democrats.
Wow, Rudy Giuliani, even listening to your first answer of my opening question, it's impossible not to receive the flavors of a life spent in various aspects of public life. As Attorney General, taking on the mafia, as Mayor of New York, comforting your city, country, and to a degree the world, as it became clear that we were embarking on a new epoch where power was shifting and altering. Not only the power that emerges when non-state terror, but ideological terror can enter and influence the international stage and international discourse. But also, that was the time when there was some appetite to curb and control the powers of the new search engines, in particular Google, that likely would have been managed and governed differently had it not been for 9/11. Of course, as a supporter of Trump, an advocate for Trump, and lawyer for Trump, you've entered into a different aspect of public life and power. And it's clear that you've been around power in lots of forms for a very long time. The first time we spoke, you talked to me about your I think it was your mother or grandmother and her significant influence in formulating your morality and your ethical systems. I sometimes feel, Rudy, if I may call you Rudy, that like if you've been around the power that exists in the judiciary that has now been, even by your own account, perverted into lawfare, the lawfare that's been deployed against Trump, against you. I know that I've experienced some extraordinary things where media interest, government interests, and judicial interests have aligned and cooperated in order to create what I heard Robert Malone call fifth generation warfare, attacks that can emerge now from amorphous sources. It's not clear who your enemy is. Now that bureaucracies and institutions have been captured, it's surprising the ways that people can be brought down. Remember, okay, right, we're going to have to stop you there. The rest of this conversation, start the countdown, will only be available exclusively on Rumble. Jump out of that system of damnation which loathes you and join us in the sweet stream of freedom, where I'll be talking to Rudy about the ongoing analogy of corruption that exists in American political life, i.e., is the state just a mafia crime family? You're going to love this conversation. Click the link in the description. Join us there. And if you haven't seen Break Bread yet, you got to watch Break Bread now, particularly my conversation with the great J. John. You have to become a member of our Awaken Wonder community to benefit from that. There's a link in the description. You can do that now. Let's get back to Rudy Giuliani without further delay. Rudy.